This is a special news report on the history of the Russian secret police.
And this is a special news report concerning the recent activity of the KGB, which is also known as the Committee for State Security. The Komitet Gazerdorvanoy Bezopasnosti. This is an organization responsible for foreign intelligence gathering and domestic security within Russia. They provided bodyguards for Soviet officials and patrolled its borders. This organization has been around for years, dating back to November of 1917 with the Cheka. The Cheka was the Extraordinary Commission for Combating and Counter-Revolution and Sabotage. They were the original secret police. They were a ruthless organization during the Russian Revolution, but they formed by Vladimir Lenin. Their first leader was Felix Dzhirinsky, and its headquarters were in Petrograd. They were part of the Bolshevik directive known as the Red Terror, and they were charged with using terrorism to destroy the Bolshevik enemies, and they would kill anyone who was thought to be an enemy of the state. They were very effective with Soviet Russia security. They established Russia's first concentration camps. They ended in 1921, but during their reign, they would use fear to prevent rural peasants and urban working-class citizens from rebelling against the Bolsheviks. They would intimidate and torture anyone who would spoke out against them, and they would crush any signs of disorder or unrest. They had around 200,000 members, and they went by many different names, but their goal was the same. After the Cheka, there was a brief period of reorganization, and in 1934 to 1943, they were known as the NKVD, or the People's Commissariat of Internal Affairs. A military branch of the NKVD secured prisoners of war and operated the state's Gulag system, which was a system of concentration camps where prisoners were executed or forced to work under very harsh conditions. They were also into protecting officials, communications, state leaders, industrial facilities, and key government sites. They suppressed the dissenters and deported many people who they considered to be disloyal. During World War II, they had an armed force of more than 500,000 troops. And in the 1940s, there were further changes and reorganizations until they combined to form the KGB, or the Committee for State Security, in 1954. But later, in 1951, the activities shifted to Russia's FSB, which was their Federal Security Service. Next, we'll be showing a clip from the early 1920s. It demonstrates the cruelty of the Cheka and some of their techniques.
She's the traitor. I think that's her. Let's see. Does that look like her? I think so. Okay, let's follow her. Ow. think that's her. She's a traitor. She's the one. Let's get her.
Move in!
Alright, we need to go.
Stop the dog. You're under arrest.
You're under arrest for being a traitor to the Soviet Union.
But I love the Soviet Union!
You're under arrest. Put your hands behind your back. Get up.
I can't get up, okay?
Get up. There's nothing to see here.
Our first interview today will be with a British man who has gone through a traumatizing experience while attempting to take down political leaders of the Bolshevik Party. And please welcome him. Today I have Robert Bruce Lockhart with me to share his personal experience of how the Cheka impacted his life. I take it you were a British spy?
Yes, I am.
Was it true that you were the head of the special missions of the Soviet Union and tried to overthrow the Bolsheviks?
Yes, on August 31st, 1918, Felix Dzerzhinsky and the Chekas found out about the attempted murder of Lenin and arrested us.
Would you mind telling me about your experiences in jail? What was it like?
I was awoken at night by a rough voice telling me to get out of bed. As I opened my eyes, I looked into the steely barrel of a revolver. Some 10 men were in my room. I dressed, and the main body of the invaders began to ransack the flat for compromising documents.
Do you remember how the officers were treating you?
The officers treated me really badly, and they were really scary, and it was a very frightening night. I was taken to the Blanca prison. My prison here consisted of a small hall, a sitting room, a diminutive bedroom.
What is a diminutive bedroom?
It just means that it was really small, and everything was really, really close together. There was also a bathroom, a small dressing room, which I used for my food. The rooms were open on both sides, on 2 corridors, so there was no fresh air. I have 1 sentry on one side and 2 on the other. They are changed every 4 hours, and as each changes, they have to come and see if I'm there. This results in me being woken up at 12 and 4 in the middle of the night. I was eventually interrogated by Yevgeny Peters, Dzerzhinsky's deputy at Cheka. At the table with a revolver lying beside the writing pad was a man dressed in black trousers and a white Russian shirt. His lips were tightly compressed, and as I entered the room, his eyes fixed me with a steely stare. Also, being in there, I never got to see the light of day, and it really affected me. I turned sallow and sickly.
Ready? Do you have any more prominent memories of your imprisonment?
Those years were all such a blur. They were probably the worst in my life. I just remember his steely eyes.
Would you like a tissue?
Yes.
Okay, I know this was very hard for you and brought up a lot of tough memories. Our first guest today is someone who has had first-hand experience in dealing with the Commissariat for Internal Affairs, or more commonly known as the NKVD. This organization has utilized gulags or concentration camps to enslave millions of people. Not only did they imprison people, but they also shot and killed thousands and exiled many more. Out of the many millions of people that were imprisoned in these camps, not many were fortunate enough to survive. Most were worked to death or were tortured. And please give a round of applause for our guest. Hi, I'm here today with Anna Klobowski, who was in one of the gulags or concentration camps during the NKVD. Thank you for being here with us today.
It's my pleasure to speak out against this oppression.
So how did you end up in the Gulag concentration camps from the NKVD?
I was captured by the NKVD because they were under the impression that I was part of the political parties that were against them. Not everyone was guilty. Some of us were innocent, but just had bad luck.
Do you mind me asking, were you one of the innocent or guilty?
I was one of the innocent. Many other criminals were put there, like robbers, murderers, and rapists.
What kind of work did they make you do while you were at these concentration camps?
I would work for up to 14 hours each day doing hard physical labor. We would be outdoors in extreme climates, cutting down trees and picking at the ground with pickaxes. On other days, we would mine for coal and copper by hand. Many of my companions actually died from lung disease, from inhaling dust and ore.
Wow, that sounds terrible. How did they treat you when you were there?
We were fed hardly anything, definitely not enough for the work that we did each day. To the police, we weren't anything. If one of us died, we were just replaced by someone new. Thankfully, I made it out alive.
What was the camp itself like?
We were surrounded by barbed fence and watched around the clock by the guards in watchtowers. We were also watched by our fellow prisoners. Everybody was watching and waiting to report any misstep to the guards. There were times when there was a lot of violence and competition for everyday necessities. It was a nightmare.
That definitely sounds like a nightmare. Thank you for being here with us today to share your experiences.
Of course.
We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Now we're going to show you a short clip of what life was like in concentration camps during this time. Work harder, I shoot. Okay, we're good. In the 1930s and 40s, Stalin's NKVD would raid homes in search of things like diaries, documents, and prohibited items like typesettings and mimeographs, which are like, in today's culture, modern computers and cell phones. Most of these home invasions either ended up in deportation of the household members or their imprisonment in gulags or concentration camps. On other accounts, the secret police would invade as part of intelligence gathering to find conspirators. Here is a short clip of a home invasion.
Open up, it's the police. Let's go in. Look, over here, it's a conspiracy.
She's a conspirator!
Thanks for being here today to tell us more in depth about the KGB.
Thanks for having me here.
Is it correct that the KGB translates to the Committee of State Security?
Yes, and the motto is the sword and the shield.
Is it true that the KGB has both illegal and legal bases within other countries?
Yes, the illegal residencies mostly worked out of the embassies under the cover of diplomatic immunity. But the illegals could face persecution and did not have immunity. Early on, we found the illegal operatives were more useful because of their ability to easily infiltrate targets. At the legal residencies, all the operations were divided into 4 sections: political, economic, military, strategic intelligence, and disformation. The illegal residencies were usually not as centralized and therefore lacking organization. The agents were people who provided information to the controllers who were the people who relayed it to the Kremlin and were in charge of keeping track and paying the agents.
How were the agents able to hide their identities?
Well, they often led double lives, having no identities that the KGB fabricated for them to keep their work secret. They practiced many forms of espionage, such as retrieval and photographing classified documents with concealed cameras, using code names when communicating, and often used dead letter boxes to share intelligence they found. In many cases, agents would infiltrate organizations posing as sympathizers to the target's cause. This was important in discovering more information to help their missions and allowed them to influence policies and help arrange assassinations or kidnappings. The KGB has played a big role in the Soviet Union and arranged many operations that are still secret to the public.
Well, thanks for sharing that information on what the KGB really do. And I believe that's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching, and let's give a big round of applause for Igor Prelin.